Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Kelsey Kenry, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. If you don't know this by now, I have 3 children, and I had those children after becoming an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since 2011. My first child was born in 2016, followed by my second in 2018, followed by my third in 2021. So I had 3 kids in 5 years while having multiple businesses, closing businesses, starting businesses. And I want to honestly start this by saying mom guilt is something that I don't believe we can ever not feel. And I also don't believe that feeling it is a bad thing. Because let's think about this. If you didn't feel guilty ever as a mom, like whether it was work associated or not, I'm pretty sure you're a psycho. And if that's you, I don't know, maybe tell me how you do it, because I think that it would be not normal, because our children are the reason why we do so much of what we do. And the pull between business and motherhood and wanting to achieve and be great at both, like, of course, that keeps us spinning. And of course, when we drop a ball in one area or the other, we feel guilty. I just think that normalizing the emotion of guilt is something that we need to do. And not from a place of like acceptance of like, I'm just going to be guilty all the time, but from a place of you're a human. It's okay for you to feel that. But what does the feeling mean? Right? So recently, actually, I received a message about my kids back to school and the dates and the times. And what you should know about me, if you don't know this already, is that I have primarily built my schedule around my children. So, like, my work hours are 9 to 3 because my big kids are in elementary school. My little one still naps. She's in half days in the morning. I don't need to give you all those details right now, but just to give you kind of an idea of how I've set things up for my business. It was always very important for me to be present for my kids. So like when my kids come from school, I'm either already out of my office or I'm wrapping up shortly after and I'm coming out and I'm not on my phone and I'm not doing work stuff and I'm with them. And then I become like taxi mom for all the activities, right? So I'm sharing that because I like to make sure that I am at important things for my kids. So I got this back to school message. I looked at it and the date is a date that I'm out of town. And so instantly, I know that you've experienced this. I was like, fuck, like that doesn't feel good. I feel guilty. I feel like I should be there to meet their teachers, right? And it's that initial feeling of I'm failing, right? Like this is the first year since my son is going into 4th grade. That's crazy. But this is the first year that I won't be there for that. And obviously there's the logistics of it to where it's like, if I would have known the date ahead of time, I would have planned around it, etc. But I really had to walk through in my head of like, hey, you're not failing. This is back to school night. I bet you that there's another opportunity that you could meet the teachers and you had this planned ahead of time. You didn't know. So I had to be really gentle with myself and my thought process because it is a standard that and an expectation that I hold for myself to be there for my kids. And it happens every single time when I leave for retreats for 4 nights. I will say, like, honestly, and I'll get more into this in the episode today, but like honestly, what has alleviated a lot of my guilt has been the trust that I have in my husband, because he kills it. Like I have no worries. So anyways, I'm sharing this with you basically as an opening to this episode, that really eliminating mom guilt, I don't think is possible, and I don't think it would be healthy. However, managing our guilt as moms is something that we can do. And something like I was just speaking about, when we have moments where we feel like we're not showing up as the mom that we want to, or prevented in some way, we have some tools to be able to really evaluate what we're feeling and why we're feeling it, and work through that feeling of guilt. So that's what I'm sharing here today. And I understand that, like, being an ambitious woman, like, this is one of the things that comes with it, right? There are moments where, as much as we don't have to choose between business success and motherhood, there are moments where we have to choose a meeting or back to school, right? And so I would say really making sure that you're clear up front on, like, what does your version of presence or balance, or whatever the word that you use, look like. And so I think that that's what I'm going to get into. I have like a few things that I want to share that have been helpful for me. And really the first one is understanding that, like, guilt comes from expectations that you haven't questioned. So we all hold these expectations for ourselves, right? Like I was holding this expectation of, like, everything my kids do, I am there for and I am present at, and that's just what it is. But then I never thought to question, like, what happens if you don't have a date ahead of time and you've planned that? And so I think it's important for us to recognize that we have an internalized version of what success looks like, both for our business and for motherhood, that we are allowed to question and rewrite. And that's why I want you today to really think about, like, what does this look like? If I know that I can't be at every single thing, what are the things that, like, I feel comfortable compromising in both business and life, right? What are meetings I feel comfortable handing off, and what are events that my kids do? If they're in soccer 3 times a week, do you need to go all 3 days? And maybe you feel like you do. This is completely up to you. But I think that a lot of times we're just making, again, this guilt is coming from a place of expectations that we haven't really looked at or identified what they are, or invited ourselves to change. So you can be wildly ambitious and wildly successful and present, but you need to define what those terms are. And if we don't have those terms, then we're just going to default to whatever our default mode is, which is, if you're not at everything, you're failing, right? Another thing that I want you to remember is that guilt is a signal, not a stop sign. So this is why I say, like, we're not eliminating guilt. We can't eliminate an emotion that we're supposed to feel as humans. It's a ping of, like, hey, what's going on here? It's a reminder. And what I tell clients is, like, in an emotion like guilt, or a lot of our emotions, it's an invitation for inquiry, right? So if you're feeling guilty, if you notice mom guilt coming up, inquire into that. Why do I feel guilty? Well, I've traveled the last 3 weeks. Okay. And so what is in your control to change that? I could be more assertive in asking for different dates from people instead of expecting that they would need me as soon as possible. I could limit the amount of times I travel per month. Like, put yourself back in that seat of power, right? So guilt is usually showing you where your actions and your values are misaligned. And so where are you, again, we want to evaluate our expectations, and then we want to look at, okay, here's my new terms of what I'm expecting from myself. And then we want to make sure that that's actually in alignment with the values that we have. You know, if you're feeling guilt because you're always on your computer in front of your kids, that's a boundary with yourself that you can change. And then there's things that need to change in your business, and communication that needs to be had, or new team members that need to be hired, or whatever those things are that can be changed. It's changeable. So really, when you feel guilt, it's just inviting you to check in. It's not inviting you to spiral. You don't need to beat yourself up. You don't need to go into self-judgment. This is about, why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? And what do I have more control over that I could possibly change to realign with what I feel is my priorities and my values? And here's a funny one that you're going to hear from me. I speak often about balance, as you know. And when I speak about balance, I never have seen balance as 50-50. There will be days where your business will need 96 and your kids will get 4. Let's just be honest. And we need to make sure that we're looking at the big picture. So balance isn't about 50-50 every day. Balance is about our equilibrium. Balance is about fulfillment. Balance is about looking at the big picture and thinking, do I have a social life? How is my marriage? Am I showing up for my kids? And I hate when I see the martyr victim mentality of oh, mothers are expected to do all these things. Well, yes, but you get to define what showing up in that area looks like, right? Every single one of us can take 30 minutes without our phones to sit down with the person that we married and ask them how they're doing and ask for feedback and ask what they need to bring us closer and to honor the person that you said you were going to do life with. Every single one of us can spend 10 minutes without our phones with our kids, whether you have 1 kid or 10. So it's more about intentionality. It's not getting this mindset of balance is 50-50 and I need to give everybody equal shares. It's about, how do I want to show up for each part of me and each part of the relationship that I'm in and each of my responsibilities? What does that look like? What can I give? And in order to give, what support do I need? It's a completely different way of thinking. Next, it is important to remember that your kids do not need a perfect mom. First, perfect is a lie. They need a fulfilled mom. They need a mom that is not going to be in a bad mood from her stressful days every day. They need a mom that can have emotional capacity and space to hold them when they're having a hard day. They need a mom who they trust and feel safe with. Notice none of those things that I said were about a time requirement. It's more about who you are in your time with them. It is quality over quantity. It's not about being at every single event. It's not about being the only point of contact. It's about, when you are with them, be with them. And whatever is preventing you from being with them, fix it, change it, ask for help, get the right team, fire the people who aren't serving you. Stop doing services that you hate. You have the power to change those things. They don't need you to be perfect, but they do need you to be emotionally available. And that's where it's really, really hard as ambitious women to have enough emotional capacity. But this is why I'm so adamant about you pouring back into your cup and you having routines and habits that are just for you and centered around your happiness and your health. Lastly, a reminder that you define success on your terms. Again, like I mentioned earlier, these expectations, these unclear terms, we go into default mode. And a lot of times our default mode when it comes to business and success and what that looks like is all the shit that we're seeing online, which we know is a highlight reel. We logically know that as marketers, to make ourselves most marketable, it's not about showing all the failures. We show the failures after we've learned from them and something we've won, of course. But remember that your definition of success does not need to look like mine. And my definition of success does not need to look like hers. So sitting down and rewriting in your most abundant, successful, wealthy life, who are you and what does that look like? And what are the metrics that you're using to measure it? Because if there's no metrics, once again, we're defaulting based upon experience that we've had in our childhood, with caregivers, with mentors. All the inputs that we've had are shaping our belief system. And so if we don't learn to look at them and question and rewrite and say, you know what, actually my version of success is taking summers off and traveling the world with my kids. Whatever, you get to write it. You get to write it. So you need to be living in alignment with what matters most to you. This is why when you're feeling guilt, it's about misalignment. And this is where honest conversations about where you're not meeting your standards and or you haven't defined what those standards are. And so you're defaulting to what other people say they should be. So that's the work for you today. And when you are feeling guilty, remember that it is an opportunity to inquire. You're not a bad mom. You're probably doing way better than you think you are. And if you feel like you're being a bad mom, you can either stop there and you can sit in your guilt and you can sit in that seat of defeat and you can be a victim, or you can say, I want to be better. And here's what better looks like, and here's how I'm going to do it. So mom guilt is not something that we're going to try to eliminate, but we are going to learn how to navigate through it better. So today, I would love to invite you to share your latest mom guilt story with me. I would love for you to DM me on Instagram and tell me a moment where you were like, I am not showing up here how I want to. And I would love to just hear like what that showed you or how you walk through that experience, or even be able to help you with like some things that I may see from that experience. But my DMs are open to you. Understand that just like I shared at the beginning of this, mom guilt is something that we feel, and we feel it frequently. And it's an invitation for us to look deeper into how we are measuring ourselves, where we're not measuring up, what we're measuring ourselves against. And we always have the opportunity to rewrite our terms and to show up in the way that we want them to. So once again, I want to end this by saying, please DM me, share your mom guilt with me. I'm in it with you. And you are definitely doing better than you think you are. Just by choosing to be an entrepreneur and start your own business, you are giving your children permission to create their own path. And that, leading by example, is one of the best things that you can do for them. So thank you for listening. I hope that this has helped you heal your heart a little bit, think about guilt differently, and be able to approach situations where you feel guilty in a new and better way. I look forward to hearing from you on Instagram, and I will talk to you guys next week.